Please stand for the pledge of allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let the record show that Supervisor Jorgensen, Supervisor Miller, and Supervisor Wickman, and Supervisor Belt are here. Mr. Supervisor Shea will not be present today. The public comment policy statement. If there is anybody from the public that wants to make a comment to the board, they will need to go over to the table and read the script and fill out the form to make a public comment. And the table is over there and the form's over there. At the end, we will reserve about 30 minutes for public comments, but you only get 3 minutes to speak on your topic. The board will not respond unless the chair allows it. Okay, moving right along, consent agenda.
Motion to approve.
After discussion by the board,
Second.
any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign. Hearing none, motion passes. Introduction of new hires to the board. Lisa Clark. Lisa. Oh, there's 3 of you?
I am one of the supervisors.
That reminds me of that show.
Yeah.
Who's
Lisa.
the real Lisa Clark?
Yes, which one? No. My name's Rebecca. I'm the supervisor over there,
Okay.
the nurses. This is Chris. She overlooks.
Yeah, yeah.
quick. And then this is Lisa. Lisa, has over 15 years experience as a registered nurse. The most recent 10 years, she has worked at Jenny Edmondson Hospital on the float pool. And then in addition to that, for the past few years, she has been a nursing instructor at Iowa Western Community College. So she brings a lot of knowledge to our team, and she will be looking over, or working with CCNC, which is our child care nurse consultant, looking over 6 West counties, doing review at daycares, ensuring children's health and safety. And then she'll be working with Chris as well for the Women, Infant, and Children Food Program over 6 Southwest counties as well.
She'll be working our 9 travel clinics then with Melinda.
So are the 6 counties the same as all of the ones that you are serving then?
Correct. Yep, nothing's changed yet.
Okay, is she gonna house over across the street then?
Yes.
Okay, Lisa, well, welcome aboard and, you're welcome to stay and listen to us today, but Tuesday at 10 o'clock, you can always tune in and catch us if you want. Anything you want to tell us about yourself or anything? Okay. Okay, she already spoke for you?
Yeah.
Okay,
Thank
well, welcome aboard. Congratulations.
Thanks,
Okay.
Lisa.
Matt Wyatt, Direct Planning and Development, public hearing and first consideration of ordinance number 2025-2, an ordinance to amend the official zoning map of Potawatomi County, Ohio by changing the district designation of approximately 2.8 acres from a Class A2 ag production to a Class A2 urban transition district and set date for second consideration.
We'll make the motion to open the public hearing.
Second.
Okay, roll call.
Chairman Bell.
Aye.
Supervisor Wickman.
Aye.
Supervisor Miller.
Aye.
Supervisor Jorgensen.
Aye.
Anyone from the public?
For the board's reference, this property is, address is 29425 310th Street,
294, what was it?
29425 310th Street. And it was, the property owners came to us, with the potential that they were wanting to do just like a small little bait shop on their property. And, their property zoning has actually wound up being split because of the buffer zone that goes around the city of Neola. The portion of the property was already in the R2 zoning district. The other portion of it was the A2 zoning district. And so we took it to the planning commission on March 17th to have the entirety of the property zoned as R2, which then would allow them to do the activity they want to do under a conditional use permit. And the planning commission did recommend approval of the rezoning request for Michael and Christian Snickloff unanimously. So
Are you speaking in favor or yes?
I'll make the motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
Discussion?
Matt, so, I'm sorry,
Go ahead.
is this in the city limits then or out or not?
no, it's in rural Pot County.
Okay, it's in a 2 mile.
It's in the 2 mile limit. Yeah.
So they would then come to you for a building permit. Get it.
The next step is to go to zoning board of adjustment for a conditional use permit. And then, yes, they would get a building permit for the little shed that they're gonna put out there.
That's it. That's all I asked.
Okay. All those in favor of closing the
Roll call.
public hearing?
Roll call.
Oh, I'm sorry, excuse me, roll call.
Chairman Belt,
Aye.
Supervisor Jorgensen.
Aye.
Supervisor Wickman, Supervisor Miller.
Aye.
What do you want the second consideration for, Matt?
Next week, please.
Cut off and set second consideration. April 22nd. So what do you want at 10 bells, Matt?
Yes, please.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Chairman Belt,
Aye.
Supervisor Jorgensen.
Aye.
Supervisor Miller,
Aye.
Supervisor Wickman.
Aye.
Yeah, discussion? Yeah, thanks, Matt. You're on, later on the agenda, right, Matt?
Yes.
Okay. Discussion and decision to approve and sign proclamation designating the week of April 13th through the 19th, 2025, National Public Safety Communicators Week.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign. I will, what's that?
It's a roll call.
Oh, wow, it's way down at the bottom there. Okay, I'm sorry.
All right. Chairman Belt,
Okay, aye.
Supervisor Miller,
Aye.
Supervisor Wickman.
Aye.
Supervisor Jorgensen.
Okay, proclamation, da, da, da. Okay, proclamation, National Public Safety Telecommunicator Week, April 13th through the 19th, 2025. Whereas emergencies that require police, fire, and emergency medical service can occur at any time. And whereas when an emergency occurs, the prompt response of police officers, firefighters, EMTs, and paramedics is critical to the protection of life and preservation of property. And whereas the safety of our police officers, firefighters, and paramedics is dependent upon the quality and accuracy of the information obtained from citizens who contact the Pot County, Iowa Emergency Communication Center. And whereas public safety telecommunicators are the first and most critical contact our citizens have with emergency service. And whereas the public safety telecommunicators are the single vital link for our police officers, firefighters, and paramedics by monitoring these activities by radio and providing them information and ensuring their safety. And whereas public safety telecommunicators of Pot County, Iowa have contributed substantially to the apprehension of criminals, suppression of fires, and treatment of patients. And whereas each dispatcher has exhibited compassion and understanding of professionalism during the performance of their job in the past year. Therefore, be it resolved that the Pot County Board of Supervisors declares the week of April 13th through 19th, 2025 to be the National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week in Pot County, Iowa, in honor of the men and women who diligently and professionally keep our city and citizens safe. Thank you for what you all do. I want to present this, I assume, to you guys and gals. I see after reading this, and I probably should have known it by now, but we should probably have, sheriffs in here as well as police officers.
Glad to hear the proclamation is read.
What's that?
It's not why I'm here, but I'm glad to hear the proclamation is read.
Right. Well,
Well,
I see a couple of things I'm gonna, because it,
Needs
It
to
should
include
be.
our deputies.
yeah, deputies, sheriff and deputies, and it should keep our county safe and our citizens of the county. But that's a whole nother discussion.
Sam, who do you have with you today?
We're gonna do a photo, aren't we? Okay.
Yes. Cameroni. This is Ellie. Jill, Scott, Doug, but he's not part of it.
Not yet.
Used to be. Okay, head on.
Is that it? Okay. Oh.
Yeah, if you guys want to kind of like stack right in front.
Might want to be on somewhere where people. So do you have activities planned for the week to celebrate? I'll have to, I'll have to sit down, please.
Bring food.
Bring food? Yeah, there's plenty.
Wait until they're done signing, and then if you one of you want to hold the proclamation, that way we can see it.
Who's got the
Come on up,
longest
Sam.
term of service up here?
Maroney,
That would be me.
definitely Maroney.
This would be our dispatcher of the year, right here.
You're the one.
You're better looking than me.
Really enjoyed your get to know the dispatcher answers. Everybody's, thank you for filling those out.
You should head of there.
Oh, I'm good. You're all right.
That work?
Got everybody stacked. A couple. Wait, back up.
Get you a new camera, did we?
I'm using the one that we had already. We're
Okay.
good.
Didn't know we had one.
We do, yeah. Okay. Perfect. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
So the thin gold line is the theme for the season, right? And we're gonna change the colors on the outside of the building to gold in honor of National Telecommuters. And for any educators on the Teams link this morning, please encourage your students to tour the 911 center. And if they are uncertain about their future, they should at least come and check out the 911 center so they can get a fresh look at what this opportunity would present to them. So
Sam, can I get yours of service from your people?
Years of service?
Yeah.
Yep. I don't know my, oh.
26.
Awesome.
13.
Yeah, it's great.
Over 10 years of other agencies, but here I've just been here.
Awesome. So you're a newbie. Sweet.
23 years.
Thank you very much for your service.
Appreciate you guys.
Yes.
They don't answer the phone, nothing else happens.
That's gonna be a bad thing. The answer to the phone.
See.
Okay. Moving right along. So proclamation for the National County Government Month in April 2025.
Motion to approve.
Okay,
Second.
any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Chairman Bell,
Aye.
Supervisor Miller,
Aye.
Supervisor Wickman, Supervisor Jorgensen.
Okay, you gonna take this one?
Yes. I will read this proclamation, National County Government Month, April 2025. Whereas the nation's 3,069 counties serving more than 330 million Americans provide essential services to create healthy, safe, and vibrant communities. And whereas counties fulfill a vast range of responsibilities and deliver services that touch nearly every aspect of our residents' lives. And whereas counties as intergovernmental partners enact local, state, and federal programs to address the needs of all residents. And whereas Potawatomi County and all counties take pride in our responsibility to protect and enhance the health, well-being, and safety of our residents in efficient, cost-effective ways. And whereas each year since 1991, the National Association of Counties has encouraged counties across the country to evaluate awareness of county responsibilities, programs, and services. And whereas Potawatomi County, now therefore be it resolved that the Potawatomi County Board of Supervisors do hereby proclaim April 2025 as National County Government Month and encourage all county officials, employees, schools, and residents to participate in county government celebration activities. Approved this 15th day of April 2025.
Sign that.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Are you, Mitch, are you accepting this? You need a picture for this one, Kate?
I focus on the other one.
Pardon?
I'll just focus on the other one for
Okay.
today.
Do we have any county government celebrations planned?
We'll be sharing some of the content that NACO is putting out. They didn't have a set theme for this year, but just in general, promoting the resources and highlighting the different departments and services throughout the county for the course of the month.
Thanks, Kate.
Never knew there would be a national county government.
And that it's been in place since 1991, amazingly enough.
That's the first time I've ever heard about it.
You brought cookies this morning to celebrate.
Well, I'm celebrating all month, yeah. Well,
So you don't want to do it.
If you want to hold it up, I can take a picture.
No, it doesn't matter to me. I can move right along too.
All right.
Okay. We can get one later if you need it, I guess. Photoshop me in there. Next up,
That's all signed.
okay, thank you. We have John McCurdy, Executive Director, SWIPCO, and Mark Lander, Director of SWITA. Update on SWIPCO and SWITA. Hey, gentlemen, how are you?
We're doing great.
Good.
I think, yeah, with it being county month, this underscores the wide variety of things that you all as counties, interact with. So, yeah, my name's John McCurdy, Director with South Messiah Planning Council. And of course, this is Mark Lander,
Yep.
the SWITA Director underneath. And Susan had just asked, that we come and talk a little bit about, what we do. So I'm just going to give an overview because it's been a long time, since I've been, to your full supervisors meeting. And Mark will talk about SWITA as well. It is the 50th year of SWIPCO. And so, Potawatomi County, of course, is a member through a 28E of Southwest Iowa Planning Council. We cover 8 counties, including Potawatomi County. Susan is your board rep, so she's on my board, gets to decide things like my pay and our agency budget and all things like that. Fran Brannon, also from Potawatomi County, is on our board, so that's kind of your 2 representatives on our board of directors.
Fran Brannon, she lives in Walnut.
Yep, she lives in Walnut, runs Peace Haven there. You know, our main office is in Atlantic. We do have a bus facility on Nebraska Avenue here in Council Bluffs. You know, one of the things that I think sometimes, you know, SWIPCO is the overarching agency. SWITA is probably our most visible thing. And I always say, once you see one SWITA bus, you notice they're everywhere. So I hope as you are out and about, and you see that, that clicks, providing that service. Overall, we have about 100 employees total. Now about 70 of those are SWITA drivers, just kind of the breakdown. I looked up, we've got 24 staff that live in Potawatomi County, and our payroll for that staff is a little over $1 million here in Potawatomi County. You know, when we look at SWPCO, as an agency, we basically have our community development team and then SWITA. And for us, community development really falls down into two teams. One's planning and the other's housing. And we do a wide variety of things with that. We don't do as much housing things here in Potawatomi County as we do in some of the other counties, simply because Potawatomi County is no longer a member of the Housing Trust Fund. So some of the dollars that go with that don't cross that line. So I know sometimes there's probably some things in our meetings when Susan's like, wait a second, what are we talking about there? Well, that's part of the breakdown to that. One of the big things, though, that we are seeing, although some of our like homeownership or repair programs that maybe don't happen here in Potawatomi County, through us at least, is we're seeing an increase from communities looking at some other aspects of housing, such as like code enforcement or inspections of properties, things like that. And that's an area that we get requests from all the time. And really recently, you know, we all know there's been some historic investments in housing, or there will be some in communities. And being a lot of communities that are looking at, are we prepared for that? You know, if we build 10 homes in a small town, as we look around, are the other houses in the community being well upkept? Are there other issues, nuisances, things like that? We just had a call the other day with the Voca City Administrator, the Trainer City Administrator, and then Malvern and Glenwood on the concept of them sharing a nuisance enforcement officer through SWPCO. And that's it's going to be an interesting ride because that's a job that nobody really wants to do, but is vital. Because it's the broken window paradox. You know, once that goes, then things kind of how do you deal with those things first? So really, for us as an agency, just frankly, the last few years have been dominated quite a bit by flood. And most of that for us has not been in Potawatomi County. You know, that has been in Harrison, Mills, and Fremont. And so as our agency kind of concludes that work, it is about reorientating and some of these things, the day-to-day needs of our communities that we support are very important, and focusing that. You know, in perspective, some of that flood work, that was $140 million of infrastructure and new housing. So quite a big project for us that is wrapping up. Just a few projects recently in Pot County. Worked with Walnut on some downtown facade work. Also updated their code of ordinances, working with them on their zoning update right now. We did rental code enforcement for them. We're working with Walnut and the Lakin Foundation and Peace Haven on a community development block grant for their child care center. Wanted to leverage that. In Oakland, we worked with them on a community survey as far as we knew that they should qualify for community development block grant funds based on income, but the numbers of the census didn't show that. So working with them to do a income survey of the community to get them qualified. We also were able to secure a grant, a little bit self-serving in that a grant for workforce transportation for Oakland. Obviously, that's a big piece and something that Mark will talk about on SWITA there to help get folks out to Oakland safely. We have done quite a few dangerous building inspections there in Oakland as well. Working right now with Trainer on updating their zoning ordinance and map, and really discussing with them, you know, there's going to be some significant investment in that town and in new developments, and being able to handle that from like a code enforcement aspect, things of that nature. Carson, you know, we've done a couple derelict building grants for them. You know, there is a point when some properties just need to go, and that's what one of the things worked with them. We managed, they had a TIF repair program, so the community had some TIF funds that they needed to use on low to moderate income housing, so we were able to do some repair with them. And also, you know, our kind of our big brother in a way in terms of the City of Council Bluffs, they have a repair program through their CDBG funds, but they don't really have the staff that do those kind of inspections and the scope of work. So we're actually the ones that do that for them, as well as there was a housing repair pilot program that in Council Bluffs and throughout the region, that then we worked with them on that. And a lot of, there's a lot of regional things as well. We're working with MAPPA right now on a Safe Streets for All grant that some of the communities, counties for the most part are doing it as a statewide thing, but towns over 2,500 were kind of in a weird limbo. So working with them on that. We've got a project right now with Golden Hills RC&D that we had some transportation planning dollars, and they had the staff ability and resources to do some trails mapping. And I've been doing this, well, I've been SWIPCO for almost 19 years now, and we always talk about trails and the importance of that. And one thing I said the other day was like, but if you go on like Google Maps and you plunk down your little person, you don't see those trails in a lot of cases. And we can do any map, we can do any study we want, but if you can't stick that little person on Google and actually see what that trail is. So that's literally what we're working with them to do. And I think it's going to be a good project. I think then I'll let Mark talk about our transit agency and what he does over there.
Well, just a couple Pot County stats I want to share with everybody. We have 20 drivers based in the county, and anywhere between 15 and 25 vehicles operate in the county each and every day. Our total trips for last year, we ran 148,112 trips and ran over 444,000 miles. And that equated to 23,000 revenue hours for our vehicles. We operate 4 work routes in the county and 5 van pools, and those transport between anywhere between 220 and 325 rides a day, which is significant. We do in Pot County, in or out of Pot County with work routes and van pools, around 65,000 rides each year. So it's significant. We take a significant amount of people out to Oakland Foods, take folks from the Metro to Monogram. We've started up a route from Council Bluffs up to Missouri Valley for a carry-on trailer. And then we also do a cleaning crew for Oakland Foods that we transport. So those are our actual true blue work routes. Our van pools, we have 5 van pools with Google. And so basically what that is there's a volunteer driver. We get the vehicles through Enterprise Van Pool. They handle pretty much everything, maintenance, reporting, that kind of stuff. They report to us, and we subsidize it $600 per van pool per month. And so that's a service that we have that's really growing our work routes and has puts less of a strain on the actual agency. So, we have 5 of them, and we're going to be adding at least 1 more next month. And, with the way Google's growing, they have a significant interest in adding even more. So I could see in a couple of years having 10 to 15 of those running, which is great for the area, because there's a lot of people that don't have vehicles. A lot of younger people don't want vehicles. They want to live in an apartment downtown and don't really want to fool with paying for parking and that kind of thing. So that's one thing we really like to focus on is our work routes and the amount of labor time it saves these employers. So, every time I've talked to OSI in the past, and they estimate, right around 400,000 man hours are saved a year because of what we do, because they're not having to replace workers, every other week when a vehicle breaks down and they can't get to work, or, a lot of people don't realize that, kind of before we came on the scene, there was a lot of carpooling that went on. And so 1 car goes down, you might have 6 people that aren't getting to work. So it was a significant impact on their workforce. So they're really happy with, the transportation, and, they pay for it. So that just goes to show they're happy with it. They see the benefit in it. We also run STS, Special Transit, here in Council Bluffs. That's another 15,000 rides we do a year for, for the city. We contract for that paratransit, and that runs about 113,000 miles and 9,622 hours. So we also bring a significant amount of people from other counties into the metro for doctor's appointments and things of that nature on a daily basis. So, that number is probably closer to 700-800 a year. But, you know, those medical appointments are vital for keeping folks in, you know, their homes.
And I think if we have one ask from this group, it's this, that if you could make Highway 6 a tunnel that would be heated all the time, our work routes would be, you know, that's 3 shifts a day. We try to do it in all weather, but it is not possible all the time. And big kudos, and we have a lot of respect, though, obviously, for the county workers that work to keep that open and all that. It's very important.
And it's important to note that we are a 24/7 operation.
Yeah.
That's not something that you see at other regional transit providers. It's just in the state, maybe there's 2 other ones, and they focus primarily on 1 or 2 services that they do that 24/7 transportation. We are a true blue 24/7 operation. So
So you cross the river, right?
yes, you cross.
Okay, so how far will you go west then?
It just depends. It depends on what the need is.
So if you're taking someone to a doctor's appointment, how far would you take west?
We've taken people to Lincoln before.
Really?
You know, we've taken people to Iowa City before.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We've taken
well,
people up to Minneapolis before.
Wow.
And we've taken people as far south as Kansas City in the last 10 years. So,
Yeah.
you know, as long as,
Clinic.
yeah, as long as we have a driver to do it, we will do our best to accommodate those trips. That's always kind of been our thing is, we can do it, we're gonna do it.
But that's not every day.
No, that's not, no, that's, yeah.
So the Nebraska Avenue location's been a good spot for you.
Oh, it's been perfect.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And it's pretty much in the middle of the.
Yeah, yeah. And you know, like during COVID, we
Oh, yeah.
worked with you on testing site and all that stuff. And, you know, getting shivers, just
Thinking about it.
glad to not think about it. But, yeah, and that has been, you know, there wasn't, our maintenance and our dispatch is all in Atlantic, and that works well because really most people don't realize where they're calling. I had, you know, I was thinking in your proclamation about 911, et cetera. You know, we've got a gentleman who's leaving us to go to Texas, and he does dispatching for us. And in the last 90 days, he fielded 4,000 calls. And a lot of those, the people, they're just calling SWITA, you know, and that's what we want to have, whether we're talking in Hamburg or Clarinda or Crescent, that it's just one system.
So Mark, if a group wanted to get transportation, say, to load up with kids this summer to go to the swimming pool, what's the typical cost for that?
Well, depends, because
Wish the answer wasn't it depends.
yeah, I
but-
wish the answer wasn't depends, but we are required by regulations. There's a thing called a charter. So if that transportation falls under charter, and we'd have to have all the details on it. If it falls under charter, then we have to put it out for bid for everybody that's charter provider, pretty much our region. And that would be $55 an hour. Because that's considered incidental use of our vehicles, because there are private entities that can provide that transportation. And so we're not allowed to actually compete with private entities. So that's not the goal of public transit. So if it's a charter, it'd be $55 an hour if we were able to do it. Otherwise, if it's for a variety of different reasons, you know, low-income folks or organizations that receive federal transit funds, either directly or indirectly, there's different ways that, you know, we could pare down the cost of that. So a lot of times we try to, with things like that, we try to make it $5 a person, fill up a bus. You know, if it's a group of kids and they all have permission slips from their parents and their parents are all paying that $5 for that transportation, then that's a demand response trip. And so that takes the charter kind of out of it. So there's some details we need for that, but that is definitely something we do. We do it a lot in Atlantic. We've done it in Neola, taking folks to the swimming pool. We've done it in Underwood, taking folks to the Neola swimming pool. You know, we've done that in the past over various summers. We do that up in Harlan. So, you know, we're always trying to help kids get where they need to go during the summer.
So, John, when you were talking about the housing, so West Central Community Action has a lot of programs. How do you guys cross over there?
So in a lot of cases, you know, they focus primarily on like weatherization,
Right.
energy efficiency. And so if that's the primary need that someone has, we'll kind of refer back and forth, you know, hey, that's what you need, go to West Central. For us, a lot of times we're looking at roofs, windows, you know, there is some crossover, but oftentimes if there's not that genesis that fits in right with West Central, then we can help them, you know, and it takes, you know, about a third of the total dollars that we spend are federal dollars. And that means that there are a ton of regulations, of course. And like he's thrown out some of the regulations as far as just to take kids to the pool.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Same goes with housing. There are other funds that, like, we get some Iowa West funds that when we run into something that's like, we know this person has the problem, but it doesn't meet maybe West Central's demands. It doesn't meet maybe Iowa Finance Authorities, but we can kind of move them over here. That's really, I think, one of the benefits of the organization, especially in these times, is that we work with so many different programs that as one maybe is in flux or maybe suspended, we can keep helping people, you know, and that's the goal is to get those. I think you all have invested resources, local, state, county, federal, to achieve a goal. And how do we make it happen? That's where we.
I'm just curious, your drivers.
Yeah.
Vehicles, is that GPS located vehicles you have?
We do have, well, we have GPS on our tablets. So each driver has a Apple iPad.
Oh.
And so what our software is called Paraplan, and there is a GPS portion to that where it will track and we can see exactly where our drivers are and what they're doing.
Let's see, okay, are your drivers required to maintain a log sometime or not?
They're now, we don't have to log. We're exempt from logging. The way we keep track is they have a timesheet, and of course we have with the Paraplan software, it logs pickups and drop offs and that type of thing. So yeah, we're not required to do a typical 1014 log.
Appreciate all you do.
Back at you.
What are you gonna do when you have those man ones show up with
I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, I'm like, where are our drivers in here?
A couple of those.
On Highway 6 in the wintertime?
With a big snowplow on the front and dual purpose. We clear it.
Spelled her.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Thank you.
gentlemen.
Thank you.
Okay, Thomas Lampy, Senior Public Safety Advisor, FirstNet Authority, discussion on public safety. Take it away.
I'm gonna stand.
Yeah, that's
Okay,
perfect.
May use this a little, I mean, I'm not gonna take a whole lot of time. I was gonna bore you with a PowerPoint. That's for sure. You'll be here a while. So I'm Tom Lampy. I'm from the FirstNet Authority. I'm the .gov side of the National Public Safety Broadband Network called FirstNet. So if you see FirstNet come in here with anything but .gov, that's the .com side. So that's AT&T, who's the vendor that built the National Public Safety Broadband Network. Okay. In Iowa, back in a little bit of my background. So I was a state trooper before I retired in 2020 from Iowa. Did 33 years. During the last 10 years, I built the IS6 radio system in Iowa as a director of that project. I was also the bureau chief of the communication centers for all of our state patrol comms in the state. And of course, we had technicians and everything during our old VHF system. Then we built the IS6 system. Got that going and I retired. I then went to work for the Warren County Sheriff. In Warren County, I was the director of the communication center. So I appreciate this week just as much as everybody does. I know what the dispatchers do. So that's a little bit of my background. Then I got hired by FirstNet Authority to manage the Region 7, which is Iowa, Kansas, Nebraska, and Missouri. And I just recently picked up the state of Oklahoma. So what I do, and there's a limited number of us, there's only like 18 of us. We are responsible for states in our region to ensure that AT&T is adhering to the contract for the national network that they built for public safety. So back in 2012, Congress allocated spectrum to build this network because public safety was asking for their own network to deal with the data and on the cellular side. We all have our land mobile radio networks. Sure you have one here. I believe it's called Orion, that's what you're using, Nebraska side. And then encompassing that is called ISIX. You have ISIX as well for your regional and the interop piece of that. So back in 2012, Congress allocated the spectrum so we could build the public safety broadband network. So public safety could use their devices during congestion and when the network's busy only for public safety to use. So we don't have to compete with the commercial users on your cell phone when they need it and when we needed it at the time. Have you ever experienced congestion? Anybody on a cellular network when you're with large crowds, if you go to a concert, anything like that, and you try to use your phone, you'll get the spinning dial, you ain't getting through, you're not getting a channel. Purpose, just a real high level, the purpose of the FirstNet broadband network, public safety network that public safety asked for was to eliminate that so we can travel through and get our channels and make our phone calls, use our data when we need to. We can't get clogged down by the network spinning our dial, and we can't use the data. They can't use their CAD. They can't upload their videos. They can't make a phone call. That's a big problem. In fact, it's very irritating to a police officer or an ambulance or fire when you're during an emergency and you cannot communicate. Land mobile radio, back, I'm going to date myself, I came on in 88. Back, and not until like 90, 91 did we really start getting into the cellular piece. I mean, I remember carrying one of the first bag phones that Motorola had. And then we kind of gradually worked my way up through to the flip phone and everything like that. But back then, we really didn't rely on data too much in our squad cars, our ambulances, and our fire department because we had the radio system. And the radio's on our hip. Portable radio, the mobile in the car, the ambulances, the mobiles, the fire department that carries their portable radios. That's all we really had. But then as things evolved into data, now public safety relies on the data side and the cellular side just as much as they do with the land mobile radio side. When I say LMR, I mean land mobile radio. That's the Orion system that they work on in here today. So we rely on that day to day, but now we're into this world of data. Everybody's got a computer in the car. We're transmitting data to the hospitals. We're downloading drawings in fire departments. We're streaming video live from the scene. We're also using our cell phones more and more because we don't, as a state trooper, or when I was on SWAT team that did all that. There is a time where I needed to make a phone call that I didn't want to use the radio for, because radio is one to many. Cell phones, until I explain what this evolved into, cell phones are one to one. It's between you and I. That's needed. We need to make those calls. He needs to make the calls. She needs to make the calls without getting on the radio so everybody hears it. But if we can't get through, the network's busy, I can't get a channel to make that call, that's a problem. So that's why FirstNet was developed. You get priority, what we call priority, and preemption. FirstNet has its own separate core. Its own core just for public safety. And they're spread out all over the country. There's 7 million users on it, public safety users on it. As of today, we hit 7 million a couple months ago across the country. Iowa alone has 901 cell sites just for public safety in Iowa. So back in 2015, when they first announced that AT&T, I'm going straight up, when AT&T won the bid, AT&T wasn't really in the rural areas. It was on the interstate system in your major cities. But when they won the bid, they gave all the spectrum to public safety to use as well on a priority, and then they built on top of it. So today, that's where your 900 sites come into play. So now you're covered in Iowa, and I'm not going to lie, there's always spots. Whatever carrier you get, it does not matter. You're always going to have a spot where you're going to go down into a valley or you're in a river, you're going to lose your call, you're going to pick it back up. We try to avoid that. The public safety network was built for the rural areas, not for a business model. Most cellular companies aren't going to build because there's 5 people in a neighborhood that can't get through. They're not going to build a site for that. Public safety needs it everywhere. Tornadoes don't just happen in the same spot every time. So we need the coverage. So that's, now that you've got the whole premise as to why it was built, that's what I'm here to talk about. So we talk about cell phones. What can I guarantee? And that this doesn't count if you left it on your desk, what I'm about to say, right? But what does everybody have in common today? piece of equipment. Everybody's got a cell phone, but not everybody's has his radio or her radio, but everybody's got a cell phone. I'm not, and I want to make this real clear. I'm a radio person. I was on the road. I did all that, been there, done that. I would never say, let's just use a cell phone instead of my radio on my hip or my car. Let's just use the cellular network. Not going to happen. I would never recommend that. But what I can recommend is we use the cellular network and the FirstNet piece to augment that radio system, to make sure that the data works in your computers, that's in the SIM card that's in the trunk, that's downloading your video, that's uploading your video. So you can stream live with your cell phone at an instant. So you can make a call on the network on the public safety. So then we integrate it. So we integrate.
Sharp side's gonna be blue.
Blue? Yep, okay. So if you got your cell phone, and then you've got your portable radio system, that's the land mobile radio, that the radio on the hip, the portable, right? The public safety carries, whether you're EMS, fire, police, doesn't matter. And then you have their cell phones are carrying both of these. Sometimes when you have an incident and people come to help, other public safety agencies come, they bring their own radio. And then sometimes when I was on SWAT teams, sometimes I had to carry two. I had to talk because they weren't on our radio system. So I had two radios, right? And then we got a debrief on that. And communication was always the worst thing when we debriefed that call. Was radio communications was terrible because I had to carry two radios, etc. But in today's world, we can integrate this cell phone into the radio system. So for those who don't carry the radio or don't have a radio, we can use our cell phone to augment the radio system, but use our cell phone to talk on a talk group or channel for that incident. So you can do that in one of two ways. We use an app that's called Rapid Response. It's in the App Store. AT&T, Enhance and Push to Talk Rapid Response. It's on the FirstNet network, and that gets you the priority and preemption to make that call to push to talk. And I'm going to show you how the push to talk works here in a second. So we can create talk groups that are just on the cellular system that talks to the cellular towers. Right? Then your radios here, they talk to your radio system towers only, right? The cell phone talks to these towers. And like I said, there's 900 in the state. I don't know exactly what Pop County has, but you're pretty well covered, but there are spots, and we're going to address that as well. So your radios talk to this, but now we can have this system all incorporated and use both. So you use your cell phone for your calls to get through. Now we can use a piece of equipment and integrate your radio system into that cell phone. So what do I mean by that? When I talk on a cell phone, when you set it up properly, when I talk on a cell phone and I have the equipment set up all pre-planned ahead of time or on the fly, I can actually push my button on my phone and come over top of over his and her radio channel on their radio system. So now that's interoperability. So now I got one-to-many on the talk group that I created because I patched it in to the radio system here in Potawatomi County. So what's the advantage of that? Big advantage. So if today, I'm going to give you two examples. Let's just say all of us here are going to go deal with an incident. And we're going to go tackle that incident, and I'm briefing you. And the first thing we brief about is how are we going to talk? How are we going to communicate amongst each other? They've got radios, you've got radios, she's got radios. Fortunately, we're all on the same radio system in this particular scenario. But let's just say I wanted everybody in this room to be able to talk. So we get the Rapid Response app, and in less than 2 minutes, you bring your phone up, doesn't matter what carrier it is, bring your phone up in less than 2 minutes, as fast as you can put the username I give you and the password I give you, you will have everybody in this room will have a talk group and we can all communicate. And then to make it even fancier or better, we'll incorporate the radio system that they operate off on into this app as well. So if I do need to talk to the police, we can turn to that talk group, a channel, and talk to them. But the point is, everybody hears it during that incident. They may not want us everybody talking on their channels. but they also may designate one that they will allow you to. So if there's an emergency and I really need to let everybody know, prior to that, I'd have to make a phone call, because if all I have is, if I'm just a volunteer helping out with this incident, I got to make a phone call to somebody. Hey, this guy's, he's down the hallway, he's over by the bathroom, then that person's got to call this person, then you got to call 911. That takes time. But if we're dealing with this incident and everybody was to have the talk group that we pre-planned and trained on, now I push the button and then I talk and I say where that person is. Everybody in this room heard it. And for simple stuff, not only emergencies, just for simple stuff. So one to many. So they heard it. You heard it, because we're all on that same talk group on FirstNet. Now, what happens when on a day-to-day, everybody in this building is got their devices and their phones are communicating with the cellular network? It's a normal day. Networks get busy, they get congested. Not when they get congested, is when, it's now how they will get congested, right? So on a normal day, the network's working fine. You're watching, you're streaming some video, you're FaceTiming. We don't just text and call anymore. Everybody FaceTimes. That takes a lot of bandwidth on a network. So now I want to get through, but I can't, right? Because the network's busy because everybody's streaming. So where I'm going with this is during that incident, I need to get through. Now one to many comes into play where everybody can hear each other. So we're not replacing the radio, but we're using the capabilities of the cellular network and FirstNet and the priority and preemption on FirstNet. Priorities like, if you go through an airport, the best way I describe it is you go through an airport, you got the regular line that's just packed. Everybody's going through their little maze to go to the TSA guy. But then there's TSA pre-check, where sometimes you can walk, not even stop, just walk right through. And then they have what they call clear. That's even faster. Think of FirstNet as the TSA or the clear when it comes to the network. Or interstate's blocked up, everybody's jammed up, public safety needs to get through. They just got a lane for themselves, they get through. Same kind of concept when it deals with congestion. So you can set up the talk groups on the fly real quick with this app, and there's several that you can use for apps. And does anybody remember Nextel back in the day? Nextel, that's what this basically what it is on steroids now. And then of course that went away. So now we have what they call a form of Nextel, but you get all the advantages on the FirstNet side is because we built it for these guys and everybody in here for priority and the preemption to make that push to talk call and to make their call, voice call, or send their text. Or I need to stream this video, like right now, I need to stream it so everybody here can see what I'm seeing. If the network's congested, that ain't gonna happen. It's just gonna sit there and spin. But if you're on the FirstNet network, that solved that problem for you. What I was saying earlier about everybody in this building on a day-to-day is using their phones. But what happens when the emergency happens? Not only is everybody on their phones, everybody that's responding is also on their phones. Everybody is streaming the incident on their phones. So likely we go back to that priority and preemption. They need to get through. They need their own channel. They need their own network, and they have that with FirstNet. So I want to make a test call here just to show you the clarity. Anywhere you got a cellular signal, you can do it. Now, if he's in Wisconsin, if he doesn't answer, I'm going to be embarrassed because I've told him to pay attention. Paul, can you hear me? He was in a meeting. Paul, can you hear me? So anyway, he may be busy in the meeting. But so what I'm trying to explain here is it's the clarity. You get the clarity. You get the push. I'm getting the priority when I heard the beep, kind of like your radio system. You get the beep to talk. Same thing here. But what I'm trying to get across is it's a way to augment your system on top of your radio system that you already have. So in schools, for instance, I'm pretty sure the governor put a radio in every school in Iowa. There's a radio with a big orange button on it. You hit the button, it's emergency. that trips their radios that there's an emergency at that school. So then it opens the mic up and then wherever that radio is, you can hear what the conversation is. But what if you take that one step further and the staff in the school has a cell phone that's reworked out with Potawatomi County Sheriff's Office or the city of Council Bluffs, that they have a special talk group on the radio system that can be transmitted on the cell phone as well. How big of an advantage would that be for all of the teachers that have a cell phone, which they do, to have the capability of using that phone to be able to communicate with the responding officers on what the location of the bad guy is, just as an ongoing update, real time instead of this one-to-one. So that's the advantages of another network that you have in Pop County on top of your radio system. It's not going to replace it. It's going to augment it. Motorola makes a radio, Harris makes a radio, E.F. Johnson makes a radio that does both. It works on the radio system, on the Orion system, for instance, and it also sees the cellular network system at the same time. So you save money on costs of the infrastructure that way. So you can take advantage of the cellular network sites, not just Orion sites, but you can take advantage of the cellular network sites because the radio will see when it runs out of range of the LMR network, it picks up the cellular network. So instead of throwing 5 or 6 more towers at $1 million a pop to get your coverage, there's counties in Iowa that do it today. They use that radio instead. The radio is a little expensive, but it's still cheaper than the towers. Then your radio will roam onto the LTE network on the cellular network, and then you don't notice difference. So that's a way to save on your money on your LMR costs, but it's also a way to integrate push to talk on a phone into your radio system, or just like Nexta, you just talk back and forth on the talk groups that you set up. So that's very, very high level, but that's the concept. So I went over the FirstNet network, the advantage. We have our own core. We have government oversight. I work for Commerce, Department of Commerce. So we ensure that the contract is met even on a monthly basis. AT&T has to meet the requirements of the voice quality and everything like that. If there's a problem where public safety calls and said, hey, it's not working here, they get a hold of us. We either send a deployable out there or we call AT&T and say, what's going on? Public safety needs it. Why isn't it working? That's what we do to make sure that the network always is up and running for public safety. Now, I can certainly come back and do more, but that's a very high level overview. I didn't want to take your whole meeting up because I could literally spend an hour with fancy PowerPoints and gadgets and everything, but it's worth your time to look into why FirstNet is different. Number one, public safety, sheriff associations, police associations, fire, EMS, all asked Congress to give them this spectrum to build this network. And that's what they did. They started in 2013, all the way up to where we're at today. And we're constantly evolving. The money that the federal government owns, we own the spectrum, and AT&T pays the authority to reinvest into the network. So we don't cost the taxpayers any money. It's all public-private partnership. So we have to, by law, reinvest that fund. The funds that AT&T pays us to use the network spectrum. We throw that back into the network to build more sites, to all that kind of thing. We have a lab in Boulder where we test devices. We have a board, kind of like yours, only a 14-member board with public safety officials that regulate our budget and tell us where we're going to spend our money. We have coverage workshops every year where I come here and I'll be back here. Where's your spots that you don't have the coverage? Where do you need it? We'll note that and where that, like for instance, we have $2 billion in the next 2 years we're going to be spending, and another 10 billion over the 10-year plan, or 8 billion over the 10-year plan, reinvesting into the network with coverage, because this doesn't do you a darn bit of good if you don't have coverage. All the gadgets and everything that cell phone works on, you got to have coverage. Coverage is king, and it always will be with any device. Either your radio system or your phone, you got to have the coverage, and that's what we're made about, building that coverage for public safety. Any questions? That's short, not too sweet. Sometimes it's complicated, but I could go on and on and on, but I was thinking as I was driving over, how am I going to condense all this information into one short speaking event here? But FirstNet.gov, we have our own core priority and preemption for public safety.
That first net is provided free, right?
FirstNet is the infrastructure itself, but you still have to pay a user fee for if you subscribe through AT&T to get the device and the service, just like a normal cellular plan.
You're familiar with the problems we have, our network.
No,
You're not, okay. Now, this is an answer.
your radio network or the cellular?
The radio,
Okay. No, I'm not.
our network has to cross the river, side. We got officers that are using the handheld trying to communicate out, and that's gonna be an issue. We got a lot of hills in the county. But I don't know if this is any kind of an answer to the problem that the sheriff's communications team has or not. You guys know anything about this?
Oh, yeah, I'm aware of what it is.
Okay, so could be.
We have dual band, we have LTE connection. Way too complicated conversation for this setting.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I used to be in the cellular business. I go back to analog radio, A side licensing, B side licensing, and that's how far I go back. But a lot of things going on. It's always evolving.
It is. It is. That's very expensive.
So you gave three names, Motorola, Harris, and what was the other one?
EF Johnson, Tate, there's all kinds of vendors.
Really?
Yeah, and as long as the radios are P25, then on the radio side, the LMR side, it'll work. It communicate for interoperability pieces. Now, is Orion a Motorola?
Well, we have P25 radios too, right?
Yeah. You should have, yeah.
So our law enforcement has the next, Motorola Next,
There you go.
which is LTE, which he was talking about. We communicate with cellular towers now on the law enforcement side. Our fire does not. Just so you guys are clear on that.
Volunteer fire department,
Volunteer or paid,
they don't,
correct?
but police do.
Law enforcement, all law enforcement in the county has the LTE capability. Anyone else beyond that does not have that LTE capability.
Well, what would be the reason for that?
The cost of the radio is more expensive. And at the time when we purchased the radios, the funding that we had available, that's the direction we went.
Okay. So it was the radios, not the towers.
At the time, we're buying radios. That was why we didn't go with all LTE next,
For all the public safety.
for all public safety or Parks and Rec or anybody,
Well,
public works.
public safety first and then public works right second.
There's a sheriff over in Marion County, Jason Sandholt, that instead of building he's got a tower right by the sheriff's office for ISIX, right, the radio system. So instead of putting up new sites, he uses the next radio, which is the one that roams onto the cellular network. Doesn't know, it just uses both. He uses that to solve his coverage for him on for his portables. And he also, that radio will also hook onto a Wi-Fi system wherever you're at. And it works well, but they're very expensive. But towers are very expensive, as well. Last I checked, when I was there, it was $1 million a piece for a tower.
Pretty close.
Yeah. And, then you got a maintenance agreement you gotta pay as well. So you either throw your costs in, but you still gotta have a good cellular network. I mean,
You have to pay rent for that tower too, if you're not.
yeah. But it's only as good as the network. That radio only is as good as the network it's on. So if your coverage for your regular land mobile radio network is weak and your cellular network is bad, then you really ain't doing anything. But if you've got a weak radio network and you need to fill in holes with a cellular network and that cellular network is strong, that's a big deal.
So would this FirstNet help with communications within the buildings, which we currently struggle with?
So we can give, at no cost, we can give a FirstNet, what they call a Cell Booster Pro. And what it is it covers, I can get 4 or 6 of them. And you just need an internet connection. And it actually makes this, each one, you You know what those routers look like? They're like this, they hang on a wall. It's called Cell Booster Pro. It's not a repeater, what you're thinking. It's a Cell Booster Pro, and it's actually a cellular site. Because you hook the internet up to it, that goes to the FirstNet core, and it'll broadcast and solve all your in-building problems. And we don't even charge for that. We give that for nothing, and Authority pays for that, and AT&T comes in and installs it. That solves your in-building problem. And then when you have incidents where the cellular network is either down or for some reason you've got a big concert coming up, 40, 50,000 people, and you're just kind of right on the cell edge. If this is the concert, and that cell edge is providing maybe one bar where you used to have 4. We give you at no cost, there's one in Omaha, a deployable, it's called Cell on Wheels or Colt. And we provide that at no cost. And then then I'll get you the coverage you need and get you strength full bars back up to it. My phone is special. All FirstNet phones are special because my phone has a black SIM in it. Regular network, AT&T has an orange SIM. So a black SIM, the tower knows that my phone is special because it's FirstNet gets the priority on band 14 and preemption. So it always knows that this phone always gets the priority over the commercial providers because it's got a black SIM. That's all it looks for. It always knows that I get priority wherever I'm at.
This would be a good conversation when we get ready to take a look at our next step if we're gonna take another one. I think, one real quick question for you. You mentioned an app that allows that conversation to work.
Yeah, and that's what Paul wasn't answering me on. It was
Yeah,
just-
can I get that?
Yeah, it's called Rapid, yeah.
Can I get it?
Yep.
So what's the advantage then?
That way you can use your cell phone as a radio, so to speak, versus
So for
carrying.
those other 40,000 people at the concert?
What does that get you?
No. I'm just saying, you're trying to, and I know a guy who puts special event towers up for AT&T. They probably provide FirstNet service on all of those for free. So if you have 40,000 people going to a concert and they can get this rapid response app, how does that help with congestion?
Because you're on band 14 if you're on FirstNet. You gotta have a FirstNet black SIM in your
Oh.
phone, and then you're on band 14.
So who gets the black SIMs? Special people.
Public safety and
Oh,
extended
I
primary.
can't get one.
You can if you assist, if you're in a position
Okay,
where you
that's all
assist
I needed
public
to know.
safety. Yep.
Yeah,
Okay.
Doug, you want something to say something?
First time you'd have to have FirstNet.
Yeah.
On your phone. You have to pay a monthly fee for that.
Well, the app itself is free, but then if you want the rapid response, then you pay the extra 10 or something for that.
Probably $10 a month.
Who controls that? Who controls that price, or is it set for life?
So there are tools with FirstNet operationally to enhance communications that would be a benefit, no doubt, to public safety. Will not replace or fix the issues that we currently see with the switchover project and all the upgrades that we have. This system will not save us millions in dealing with the issues that we have. Once we have the infrastructure, it will enhance it. This is completely on FirstNet. Cell phones or tablets or the command vehicle, like routers, emergency communications, deployable boxes, all other sort of community. FirstNet's the one that brought out wireless connectivity to the tornado in Minden when we had the public events at the church for them to get signed up for different programs and things like that. When this first started, AT&T had minimal presence in Iowa. Juice wasn't worth the squeeze. It's different now. In the last 12 months, they put up a new site here in Bluffs. There's another modem that's going to be going live with band 14 on it for FirstNet by October, maybe. So the coverage is getting better and getting good. First step is that, for example, we want to take the eventual benefits of the system. Our public safety folks, elected leaders, whoever needs access to the tools the FirstNet provides, would need to be on FirstNet and not say on the rest. Need to have the right SIM in their phone devices to be able to access this specific thing in 14, which is, I think, I was getting ready to go up through all the upgrades to 5G.
Yes.
Realistically, so the system's much better than what it was. And we've seen improvements. If you go out to the concerts at West Fair or anywhere else, we can run everything we need now and we don't get bogged down. All the other commercial carriers say they have priority and preemption for public safety. They really don't, maybe for voice, but data is a problem. That's what we need is for. But I would just caution the board to not try and incorporate these, or incorporate the vision that this getting everybody on FirstNet is going to be completely free, an easy project, replace towers that we still need to get to level. Not the same.
It augments it.
It's an augmentation of what we have.
So where's the technology going? Are we gonna go to a satellite here pretty soon and get rid of these towers? Can you tell me that?
They are, we have AT&T has contracted with Space Mobile. We have Virgin Air today that will be transmitting on band 14 here in the next few years to throw those spots where the coverage you can't put a tower. So yeah, so your phone will roam, you'll be on in probably 2 years, I would say minimum. You will have a phone that will roam onto a satellite and you won't even know it. You just be able to make your call.
They have those capabilities now. In fact, they sent us an invite 2 days ago.
24th.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a webinar on that, actually. You got the link, you can send it, or I could send it to you on that exact technology.
I've got the link. It told us it was, well, that doesn't matter. The regional folks for FirstNet were over at PNC for a couple hours last.
Those are the AT&T people. Yep.
There's some agency education that we're interested in having them people to look into this. But to take the eventual enhancements, there's got to be a transition period where agencies see the benefit. And the department head said, okay, we're not going to be T-Mobile, we're not going to be Verizon, we're not going to do this. This just like I'm kind of talking about. So,
Yeah, he's right. FirstNet's not gonna solve all your issues. You still need your land mobile radio system, but there's some departments that they don't have the funds, period, and they gotta have something, so they go with the next radio to get by, right?
So the only thing I got left for today, anyway, I appreciate your time and your information, is how many speeding tickets did you write me over the years when I was?
All of our talk groups on the Orion system are AES encryption. How does this integrate with that?
So when you put it on here, it's gonna open it up when you put so when you put the integration into the app, it's going to open that up.
So what he's saying is if someone uses that app on one of our talk groups, it's not gonna be encrypted anymore.
So are you all encrypted, everything? So could you make a special talk group that's not encrypted?
We could, I mean, that's
Yeah.
doable, but then we have to change all of our procedures on, if we have a big incident, we have to go to this specific channel just so people can use their cellular, and as per running an incident, that's very
Yeah.
difficult.
Encryption, it's good for the safety piece, but you flip the switch off, it's there, you can't hear. Scanner lane goes away and take special keys to program radios and like that.
So if we use that app, Scanner World can hear us.
Right.
Those are all good questions and conversations to have in our next meeting, whenever that's.
Absolutely, I just wanted, that was the only question I had, is to see, and I assumed that was the case, but I wanted to verify.
Yeah.
I'm gonna lean on you for that kind of advice and information, Sam. So when we get to the next discussion, whenever that's gonna happen, who's running that? Is that you just running that, Doug?
I'm waiting.
Or is that you, Sam, that's running that?
We're
Yeah.
wait for the, Dr. Susan's gonna wait for some of the budget stuff to finish, and then we'll kick that off.
Doug had put a framework together that he gave us back in February, and we just need to get it on the agenda so we can discuss it. Maybe get our task force put together, and
We need one of those
I agree.
that has 2 board members on it.
It does. 2 representatives on this committee.
Yes, subject matter experts all over the place.
Do you have,
Okay,
the SIM in your radio, is it, what carrier is it?
So where do you go with encryption then? Is it, which way we go?
The cellular networks, ours is encrypted. Their land mobile radio is also encrypted. It's 2 different things. You can't scan the cellular, you can't pick that up.
Good.
Thank you.
Yep.
You bet.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
You bet, anytime.
Okay, discussion and or decision to approve and authorize the board chairman to sign a letter of support for the countryside market location in Minden.
I will make that motion to approve. They've got another grant application for specific for grocery stores.
Discussion. These were the same people that, they finished, I don't know where they finished in that, competition, isn't it? The same people that were at the, shoot, what was that called, Paula? Your,
Oh, our Rev bid
yeah, Rev, weren't they the same people?
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Okay, any other discussion?
it's just pretty much the letter that we're sending.
Yeah.
Okay. Um. The very last sentence on there, where it says, we appreciate consideration of the application and would be happy to address any questions you may have. Is that something the board really wants to be responsible for? You know what I'm talking about, Paula?
I do. I left it in my letter, but that's completely up to you.
Pardon me?
I left it in the letter I submitted, but that's completely up to you.
Okay, as long as it's Susan that's answering the question, I'm okay with it.
I think it'll be Scott.
Sure.
I don't have to get.
I don't have the encrypted app, so I don't know how I'm gonna do it.
I'll get you that free app, Scott.
Okay, well, so are we gonna,
I don't know, it's up to you, whatever you want to do, if you're fine
do
with
we,
it that
does
way.
Jeanette have the Word document that,
Yes, she does.
okay. And, we can,
Okay,
okay,
did you get a motion in a second on that?
yeah, I got a motion by Miller and second by George, so.
Okay.
Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, like sign, hearing none, motion passes. Okay, Matt Wyatt, Director Planning and Development, discussion and or decision to approve the application for permit for display of fireworks filed by Connor Gillespie on July 3rd or July 4th at 27538 Dogwood Road, Trainer, Iowa.
So it's our first fireworks permit application of the season. And, I did forwarded you, should have been forwarded all the information on the application. And I think there was, some things from the property owner as well as neighboring property owners that came in there for you. As well. But, I just want to make sure, I did rent and I checked with Kristen on this as well for state code. It is still something for the Board of Supervisors where they may grant a permit to a person for display fireworks, which is what this is, under Iowa Code Chapter 727.2.
What, according to the letter we got with some concerned neighbors, Matt, is, and I don't know, I'm looking for some help here, but is this fireworks display becoming more of a commercial event than it is just a regular citizen event?
Well, in state code, there's one term in there that makes it a little bit hard, I think, for the Board of Supervisors, which is, the competent operator. It's not defined out in there. It's just listed as that you can grant the permit to a competent operator, and then how do you set forth to determine whether or not person is a competent operator on there? It is, in the application, they listed down that there's 40 adults, 20 children that would be attending that. Could be a possibility that, conditional use permit, we issue conditional use permits for temporary assemblages of large amounts of people. That's something like that, but when you're thinking that, through longer term, I mean, I'm sure that there's several people in the county out there that have more than 30 people that show up at their house for 4th of July. And it's not something that we really necessarily want to get into, having to issue permits, conditional use permit wise for people to do that.
What's the certificate of liability insurance? What is there an amount that you guys have or the state requires on that?
There is not an amount listed out in, chapter 727.
So what is the amount normally then? It's not zero, I hope.
There was some insurance that was sent.
Yeah, no certificate, but what's the amount?
We do not have an amount specified.
I mean, is that something that we should consider in the future?
No, what side is that?
Insurance.
Oh, insurance.
And then as far as the Iowa law, I'm going with the people are competent until they're not. If they're not gonna give us a definition.
I think the board can set a standard that the board follows for competency.
But how does the court do that?
As long as you treat everybody the same way,
That's what I'm
that would
saying.
be acceptable.
They're all competent until they're not.
I think we have members of the public here that want to speak.
Okay, sure. Yes.
Um,
Name, can you give me your name and address, please?
yeah, my name is Melanie Hildebrand Weekly, and I live at 27488 Dogwood Road, and my property was most affected by the previous fireworks display. Do you mind if I read this? It's pretty short.
Go ahead.
So, on the previous permit, we looked it up from 2024, and the requested display site was actually placed where his house building site was. He gave you an old photo, and his house was in the spot where the launch site was. So he knowingly knew that that was not gonna happen because he had a brand new house there. The place he displayed the fireworks were right alongside of our barn, very close to our home. And within the display site, all of the distance regulations were broken. You have to be so far from a propane tank, that was not followed. So far from a dwelling, that was not followed. So far from a road, that was not followed. The spot on the permit was within those, but he knew he wasn't gonna put it there because his brand new house was there. The insurance coverage is the other concern. We're concerned for field fire. Wes Schroeder has an alfalfa field just adjacent to his property. He wanted me to bring that up, that's a really dry season, and they've had little mini fires after, and it could easily turn into a field fire, and there was a north wind that day. It would have taken our property. It is not it's a commercial grade fireworks show if it is over a 1.5-inch mortar, which he had those. I found them. I took pictures. I sent the measurements. That requires a special following of the law. You have to follow the instructions for safety. Our house roof had them on them. I had them 3 acres into my property, and he was way, way too close to have these giant fireworks next to our house. On a drier year, we would have had a fire. Our propane tank is right on the side of our house where our bedrooms are. I have 3 little kids. He had complete disregard for our safety. And I think that's my main concern is he's been putting these on for years. He cannot claim ignorance. There's rules for a reason and it's safety. Ellen's a neighbor. We've lived by each other for years. Our little neighborhood has great friendship. And if he can't follow just not damaging anyone's property, I would like his permit to be denied. My 3 acres was trashed. A 30-minute fireworks show of debris blew all over my 3 acres. And he just doesn't care. He thought, we should have to pick it up because we got to watch it. But that's not how it works, so. And then Ellen, I think, wanted to say something as well.
If you want that written document to be part of the record, you certainly can do that.
I sent an email to Jeanette Johnson, and I think all of that pretty much was included in
What
it.
your
Yep, and all the
document is.
laws that he had broken are in
That
there.
document that you just spoke about.
Yeah,
Okay.
it was just kind of
Okay, yeah, yeah.
formatted a little differently,
Okay,
but yeah.
Thank you. Yes.
What,
And,
I get it.
well, let me ask you one real
Okay.
quick question, Melanie.
Yes.
When you said all those fireworks and stuff were going off, did you make any calls to law enforcement?
I didn't. The next day I filed a report. Maybe it was 2 days later, because I kept finding more and more and more of them, of the big mortars around our house. I made a report. I decided not to press charges. He just moved in. I didn't want to cause a little neighborly war, but yes, I don't think things are gonna change, so.
Okay, so I need your name and address for the record.
it's Ellen Scott, and it's 17298 275th Street. So I'm straight across the road from Melanie.
Okay.
And I just had some concerns. That time of year is typically very dry. And if there were a fire, who's responsible? We just did a complete remodel to our house. And we are in the process of putting up another outbuilding, or putting up an outbuilding. And, I just want to know where the responsibility lies there, because we don't do that kind of stuff. We don't want to have that, we don't want to have the potential fire hazards. So, and then the timing of the show. So the fireworks display went off and I went to bed, and at midnight, it goes off again and sends me straight up out of my bed because it was very loud. The fireworks that they use are not, they're pretty,
They're like West Fair grade.
yes.
They're huge.
They're a true fireworks show. Somebody who knows what they're doing should be putting off a show like that. And I'm not saying that they don't, but I have concerns living so close. And then the debris, that was another thing. I found so much debris. I'm still finding it in my yard.
Yeah.
On my acreage.
Thank you.
I know the state of Iowa did us no favors when they relaxed the fireworks law. I turned into a fireworks hater. There's no concern for public, your neighbors. People have just gotten out of control. I don't know why he doesn't take this to the city limits of Trainer. It would be easier for their fire protection, be more controllable if it's something he wants to share with the neighborhood. I would say take it to the city.
Down at the golf course.
I think your complaints are valid. I have picked up debris in my yard and I live in the city of Carson and I don't like it. And I don't think anybody should have to put up with it.
Melanie, he's moving supposedly the location, I don't know how far north, I'm gonna say 400 or 500 feet north from where he had it last year. That'd be an accurate dimension, man.
Towards in
Why
the
not?
farm area.
Yeah, you didn't see it?
No, it says it's 694 feet from the corner of your building.
He was deceptive on the last one as well, though. So, it doesn't get inspected, so he,
Where he said he had it left.
you have it here. I have pictures of, it was literally right there. It hit all of our land. It hit all of her land. I picked it up, all the debris from the roadway. I went out and picked all that up because I don't want litter everywhere. It was not there. He had the permit for here. It was not there though. It was up way higher. So,
Matt, are we required to, allow fireworks in Pot County?
For this type of display fireworks, the Iowa code says that the board may show.
So we could eliminate fireworks altogether in Pot County if we want to.
No,
No?
you can't eliminate fireworks altogether, I don't believe.
Oh.
But you do not have to grant display firework permits. Unless it is the, there's some criteria thing in there that says that the fairgrounds might be off, that they're allowed.
Is the county allowed to set the timeline that the fireworks can be displayed? So we could make it a 30-minute window on July 4th?
No, they have specific times in the state code of when they're allowed to
We
display
can be
those.
more strict than the state code, right? We just can't be less than the state code.
I don't,
I don't know on this one. that you
yeah,
can.
this one
I think the state code allows,
Only on some things we can be more strict.
there are certain codes that are written so that the county can be more strict.
yes, it says, but no such permit shall be required for display of display fireworks at the Iowa State Fairgrounds by the Iowa State Fair Board at incorporated county fairs or district county fairs receiving state aid. So the fairs are the only ones that are exempted from this permit process.
Still have fireworks down at the, I used to live in Trina, but, down at the ballpark. 4th of July, they still have fireworks down there?
Well, I'll make the motion to deny the application for the permit by Connor Gillespie.
Second.
Any other discussion?
Why are we denying it?
I just don't feel that he meets the good neighbor test. I think that there's been deception in the past, and I just listened to the concerns of the landowners.
We don't have to, do we have to have a reason to deny that?
Doesn't say that you have to have it.
Well, I certainly think that their objections to this certainly need to be addressed. My opinion.
Yeah,
They're here.
yeah, I would imagine he'll probably come back, but I agree with you. If he really wanted to permit, he should have been here. So I'll call for it.
Okay. I would like to visit our process with this in addition to this vote, but I would also, like to involve the volunteer fire departments of those areas where we're granting these permits, potentially. Because those are the people that are really gonna have to be engaged if something happens on the holiday 3rd or 4th.
If we have a burn ban in place by the county,
Right.
can we still set off fireworks?
No.
No?
Well, I mean, that is a major problem when you get a fireworks display supposedly this big, that, the risk for a fire, and I mean to tell you, I really respect our volunteer fire departments, but you know, their response times are, I don't know, 20 minutes.
Yeah, but you gotta think about them and their families, where they're at on
Yeah,
4th of
I
July.
know,
They're
I know.
not sitting at the fire station.
Yeah, they're not waiting for that to
Yeah,
happen.
so,
I did-
all right,
I did
okay.
Same thing, we could add a sign off for the volunteer fires right to the
Well,
application.
Yeah.
we can discuss that.
I do have one quick thing relating to the volunteer fire department. The chief for Trainer was actually, he had sent a letter to, I believe, Jeanette Johnson.
I'll say the chief, where is he?
It's Dan Roberts.
Okay, oh, yeah.
So,
Fire and across the street.
yeah, so he was informed that it was only going to be consumer grade fireworks. And a water truck was not formally requested. It was, he called a buddy that was on the fire department. They brought it out last minute. So the site was never inspected. And so all of this just like adds to the deception that they were being safe, but they were not. Like it did not go through the fire chief to have the water truck out, and it was way too close. Like that's my biggest thing. It was like way too close, and they knew it, and that's why they didn't follow the proper channels.
Okay, all those in favor of denying, say aye. Those opposed, same sign, hearing none. Motion is to deny application. Passes. Okay, thank you, ladies.
Thank you so much.
Okay, Janet Limerick, Director of Human Resources, and Kristen Bracker, attorney, discussion and or decision to approve the best care EAP contract. We all want the best care. We don't always get it, but we do want it.
Here. This is a follow-up. We had this on the agenda, I think back in February, possibly. The board gave a conditional approval pending the contract. Susan had requested some additional data, which you have. And so now we are asking for this to be approved today in advance of open enrollment, as we're preparing for open enrollment, so we can make sure that the correct EAP information is in our benefit packet.
Thank you for the email.
You're welcome.
This one here, do you have the original then?
Well,
I got one that says draft all over.
oh, yeah.
So, I mean, we probably need to do the original one, I assume. but-
Yeah. Feel like I did ask Jean at Best Care. Sorry, I'm just having a deja vu moment. Asked
Okay.
her for one without the draft on it,
Well,
but I don't think I have it.
you can get it.
But I can get, yes, I can get it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, Jenna, please correct me if I'm wrong. We are making a switch from our provider on this, right?
Correct. Our current provider is CHI out at Lakeside, and this would be changing to Methodist Best Care EAP. Correct.
So, then will you do an employee survey or analysis on what they thought of the program?
What they thought of the CHI
You
program?
know, of the EAP. Well, you can do both if you want.
Oh, the EAP program?
I mean, it doesn't really matter. Well, it does matter. Funds always matter to me, but the name of the game is they're getting, the employees get what they want, get what we're paying for.
Right, right.
And I just want to make sure that
Yeah, I know
give
that.
us some information and allows us to make that decision if the employees are getting what we're paying for.
Absolutely,
All right.
absolutely. I know that CHI EAP would always send out a survey to anyone that attended. I wonder if they have those results that they could share with us anonymously so that we don't have to recreate the wheel. And then do the same for EAP. I can certainly look into it. Yep, absolutely.
Get a HIPAA deal, you gotta be careful.
Well, I understand that.
Yeah,
I'm not asking for
No,
names.
I know.
I'll make the motion to approve if that's your recommendation, Jen.
It is, thank you.
Any other discussion? Is it, I assume, Kristen, you reviewed this draft?
Yes.
Is it a 1 year deal?
I think it's 1 year and then
Okay.
renews it after.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, one.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign. Hearing none, motion passes. Okay, committee appointments, update from the board members on committee meetings from the past week. Yeah,
I have nothing.
yeah.
Nope.
Susan?
I attended the department head meeting and they had a motivational clip that they showed at the end, and I'm going to forward it to the board so that we can all watch it as well. I thought it was very engaging and eye-opening. So
Yeah.
Is it funny or informative, Susan?
it is informative.
I'll just send me the funny one.
I went to the Iowa Rural Summit. I found that to be very informative and interesting at the same time. I did, attend the, not attend, but was on, department, meeting, so we come on that. Okay, anything else for the good of the cause? We will, recording will end. Now is the time for public comments. We will now just continue the live broadcast from the advice of our county attorney.